like to call the meeting to order and welcome everybody to the January 26, 2021 at 6 p.m. Lowend Planning Commission meeting. Our first item of business is to approve the meeting minutes from the December 29th, 2020 regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. First two items of business, item number 1 has been deferred, and item number 2 has been withdrawn, so we will move on to item number 3. Site plan, Southern Tire Mart, requested by Fisher Arnold, existing building of 14,467 square feet, property located at 511 New Paul Road, tax map 17, parcel 38.02, I-2 Heavy Industrial Zoning District, property owned by James W. Cameron III, trustee. Mr. Logan.
Thank you. This request is for site plan approval for Southern Tire, and this is a change of use, and the property is located at 511 New Paul Road. And look up on the screen, you can see the ortho here. So this is Interstate 24, and this is the site. It's kind of a triangular. This was the former location of Olympia Coach, and Southern Tire and its owners have purchased this property, so it's no longer Olympia Coach. But at any rate, this is a change of use because they are a tire service and retailer of tires for both passenger vehicles and large trucks as well. The total site is 3 acres exactly, and currently there's 1.87 acres of impervious surface, and that material is concrete. The applicant is not proposing any changes to the building, and actually no changes to the parking lot either. Look at some more of these images. So that's zoomed out pretty far, but here's the site in the center of the photo. And then zoning, the dark blue color is I-2, which is heavy industrial. So it's really everything in the vicinity is I-2. There is this triangular piece here is the nearby apartments, so it's zoned R3. But everything else is I-2, and here's the image of the site plan that was submitted by Fisher Arnold. And so you can see, kind of moving in there, you can see the building is a 1-story building. It's got several bays that go down the bay doors are on the north or northwesterly side of the building. And it is 14,467 square feet. One of the things that staff looks at a lot in these changes of use is the parking, because a lot of times you have a lot lower parking ratio for a different business. But in this case, 97 car parks are required on the site, and there's 100 parking spaces existing, so that worked out pretty well. There is an existing sidewalk there. I'm sure you all talked about it 2 weeks ago. So it's existing sidewalk, so no issue there. And don't believe there were many technical comments from 2 weeks ago. I think there was one, and it's been resolved. So that completes the report. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Logan. Did everyone receive a copy of the email with the signage? Everybody satisfied with that? Do we have any other questions or comments from the board?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Cole?
Mr. Logan, is there are there any truck tire service or sales located in any of Center Point that would conflict with our regulations as far as the distance requirements?
Not that I'm aware of. I haven't, I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any in this area of Laverne.
Okay.
Okay. Any further questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Alderman Coates?
Question for both. At the workshop, I know you weren't in attendance. We had the one comment where they changed any of the frontage or colours of the building. Did that that was a question that's now been removed. Has it been sorted out? They're not doing any changes?
The representative for the project and I have talked, I think, twice last week, and they said that the status of the project was the same as it was at the workshop.
Very good. Any other questions or comments?
I'll move for approval as submitted.
We have a motion to approve as submitted by Mr. Holliday,
Second?
second by Alderman Coates. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item, item number 4. Final plat, Mason Road Holdings, South Subdivision, requested by Reagan Smith. Consolidation plat for 2 existing lots of 27.36 acres. Property located at 316 Mason Road, tax map 17, parcels 19 and 7.08. I-2 Heavy Industrial Zoning District, property owned by Mason Road Holdings South LLC. Mr. Logan.
Thank you. This is a request for a plat approval, and this lot is at the corner of basically Mason Road and Bain Drive. And the purpose of this plat is actually to combine 2 parcels. It has mainly to do with right-of-way, but if you're counting that as a different tract of land, then it's a combination plat. So the purpose is to adjust the right-of-way to encompass improvements made on behalf of the developer to Mason Road. So this is to help accommodate those improvements that the developer has done in this area of Mason Road. And you can see this imagery was done prior to Amazon coming in, so I think Amazon opened in October, give or take. I think the county, this is Rutherford County imagery, so they do it once a year, and they probably do it every March, because most counties do. So this would have been from March of 2020, so it's about 11 months, 10 to 11 months old. So this is, this site today now has Amazon. If you've driven by there, you know where we're located. There's a zoomed out ortho imagery showing the area, and the zoning, the dark color, dark blue again, is I-2, same as the previous item. So there's a very, very large area of I-2 zoning there. I think all sides touch with I-2 property. And then here's the PDF of the plat, and looks like the only comment that Mr. Leach had 2 weeks ago had to do with some plat certificates, and that's been resolved. So everything else that the city requires has been met. There is an existing 6-foot sidewalk also on this property frontage, so no issue with the sidewalk. It's a fairly minor plat, so I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Logan. Do we have any questions or comments from the board?
Can I make a motion to accept as submitted?
We have a motion to accept as submitted by Alderman Coates.
Our second.
We have a second by Mayor Cole. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item, item number 5. Final plat, Mason Road Business Center, requested by Kimley Horn. Replat of 3 existing lots on 32.6 acres, property located at 230, 250, and 270 Mason Road. Tax map 17, parcel 11.02, 11.03, and 11.04. I-2 Heavy Industrial Zoning District, property owned by Mason Road Holdings West LLC. Mr. Logan.
Thank you. This applicant is seeking final plat approval for this property located at the Mason Road Business Center. And the purpose of this plat is also fairly minor. They're needing to move the setback lines, bring them in conformance with the city's zoning ordinance. So the only detail that's changing, the only reason for this plat is those setback lines that need to be moved. So again, it's fairly minor. The entire area is 32.6 acres, and you can see here on the screen, there's 3 large industrial buildings that were completed. They've probably been done now about 18 months, 12 to 18 months. And so those are located on Mason, and what you're seeing in the ortho is the new alignment with this curve here of Mason. So there were no staff comments on this one at the workshop, and because all they're doing is moving those setback lines, so there's not a whole lot to say about it. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any questions or comments from the board? No questions or comments. We'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion to approve is submitted, sir?
Yes.
By Mayor Cole, a second by Mr. Coates. Alderman Coates. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. On to item number 6. Concept plan, Arbor Ridge requested by SEC Inc., 654 proposed residential units, property located at Blair Road and South Waldron Road, tax map 32, parcel 4, tax map 29, parcels 40 and 41, R1 Low Density Residential Zoning District, property owned by James N. McFarland Jr., Atal Homes Family Trust. Mr. Logan.
Thank you. This applicant is seeking concept plan approval for a 214-acre project, approximately 214 acres, that they have named Arbor Ridge. This general area of Arbor Ridge is at the corner of Blair Road and Waldron Road. And you can see here, go back to the ortho. So this is South Waldron is running here, and by the way, the whole site is outlined in this blue turquoise color. So this is Blair Road to the north, and then Waldron Road running north and south. And this is Rock Springs Elementary School, the white building here with the white roof. So zoomed out, then you can see all the housing to the north, and then this is the interchange at I-24. And on the zoning map, so this orange color is R1, and that's low-density residential. And both sides of Waldron are R1, and all of the southern side of Blair, so this is Blair again, all that property is R1. And then this green color that extends fairly far to the north is R3, which is multifamily zoning. And then you can see in the curve here of Blair, this would be Portico Place, which has been approved in the last 2 to 2.5 years, and it's currently under construction, lot of construction at Portico. So that gives a general area. There is some R2, just kind of dark red or brick color, is the next phase of the ridge. And then, of course, this is R2, all of the developments as you head close to I-24 are R2. So, again, this development is about 214 acres, and it is a mixed-use residential PDR, and PDR stands for Planned Density Residential, which means they have to submit a specific plan when they present their project to the Planning Commission. They have to have a design book, and so all the Planning Commission has received those, and not sure if they were talked about at any meetings that the developer had, but I assume that they've been referred to, and I have some of the slides in here tonight, so we'll go over those. Overall, they are proposing 654 dwelling units, and this includes single-family homes, townhomes, and duplex villas, and we'll get to some of those slides in just a minute. The lots that they're proposing for single-family vary in width. Some of them begin at 41 feet wide, and then they go to 50 feet wide. And then they're proposing 115 lots that are 41 feet wide, and 212 lots that are 50 feet wide. And then the open space and common area equals about 75 acres. on the proposal that they've presented, and that's roughly 37% of the total acreage is that open space. I think earlier, about 6 months ago, June of 2020, there was a submittal on this property, and very similar. At that time, they did not have the property. Come back to these photos. I'm going to jump ahead. So this, your north arrow is down here, so north is to your left. So this is Rock Springs Elementary School. But this is Waldron, and so last June, when they submitted, they had nothing on this. This would be the west side of Waldron, or South Waldron. So we're on the west side. They've added these commercial tracks, and they've also included commercial at the corner. So that's one of the changes since last June, is they've now incorporated land on both sides of Waldron. And at this point, as far as I know, all the commercial uses are just speculative. I've never heard that there's anything very solid or firm in terms of what might go on the commercial, but that's at least as part of this PDR, they are carving those out, I guess in hopes of some type of commercial development. So that kind of covers, this is Blair again, but this is the intersection at Blair and Waldron. And then one of the other proposals that we'll talk more about is this realignment of Waldron. So this, if you follow me with the red dot, that's sort of extreme, I guess is the word you would use, extreme layout of those curves. There's a photo that was taken in June of the road. So if you travel through there, you're familiar with that. So part of this project is to somewhat mitigate those curves and soften them. You probably heard about that aspect of the project. So that's one of the changes with this project. By the way, the 41-foot wide lots are here in this lighter orange, and then this darker sort of burnt orange color is your 50-foot lots, 50 feet wide. You'd call that the rear. If this is sort of the front coming off Waldron, this would be the rear of the entire development, and so those lots are larger in the back. Then this kind of northwest corner, or at least north corner, is slated to be villas, and those are the villa lots, which they're, again, proposed 150 of those villa lots. So those would be nearest to Blair Road, and there is in June there, I think both of these streets went out, and so there were 2 points of ingress egress at Blair, but now that has been redesigned so that there's one ingress egress to Blair there. So those are at least what the development team or the developers thinking, is that those villa lots would be in this section, and then single family in the middle at 41 feet wide, single family in the rear at 50 feet wide, and then these are townhome lots that front Waldron, and then they're located nearest to the school. And then you probably see here, there's this lot, it says daycare, so that's some of the land they've set aside for, I guess, a possible use for daycare at that location. And then the last sort of thing on this slide is, this is a 2.62 acre tract that is being set aside for a future fire hall when the city needs it and needs to build it. So this is a 2.62 acre tract, and that is, I believe they're showing a drive.
Mr. Logan, you're a little bit high for that. It's right there. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, there's I think a black arrow, there it is, that they're pointing to it. Sorry, I was too high. So this fire hall is located just adjacent to this tract that says daycare. So that's sort of an overview from that level. Now let's go back and let's go back to these photos. So these were taken just a couple weeks ago. So this is a rezoning sign on Blair, and you can see the fields there to the right. And then this is another view of the large expanse. So it's mostly undeveloped land. There are some water courses there that run through different parts of the land. 214 acres is it's a very large tract of land. So, and there's a picture there that I did not take this picture, but I believe they were trying to get one of those water courses in one of the snows. And there's another photo, the same thing. So when I was putting this PowerPoint together, I thought, well, I might as well leave both seasons so you can see it in the summer and you can see it in the winter. So this is from Blair, and I was standing on Blair when I took this, and that's looking to the left is south. And then that photo is the intersection straight ahead of Blair and Walden Road. And of course, there's the curve again. That's much further south, closer to where the fire station land would be located. As far as the amount of retail or commercial area that they have are willing to set aside, it's 21.57 acres, so about 21 and a half of 214. So that's
Is that on the corner of Blair and Lowend, the commercial? That's my house.
Ma'am, please don't interrupt.
And so the other parts of the project that they have included are the amenities package, and that includes a clubhouse, of course, with swimming pool, paved walking trails. There is a playground, and some of those amenities will probably be covered by the applicant if they address the commission. Some of the infrastructure improvements, and this is getting into the city engineer's area, and he's not here, so I'll do the best I can do with that. But at least in the concept plan, the developer is proposing several infrastructure improvements that include realignment of Walden Road, intersection improvements at Blair Road and Walden Road, and the extension of Blair Road. So that extension would cover, go back. So where Blair intersects Waldron, and we're back to this commercial tract, the extension of Blair, that's what that's referring to, is it would be extended beyond where it is today, and it would, I think eventually the plan would be to possibly take the Blair extension further north and west and possibly intersect with Carruthers at some point, but that's pretty far in the future. But that has been talked about. And of course, the other infrastructure improvements are the internal trail system that go with the development. And let me get back. So this is the phasing plan, and the green is phase one. So that basically they're going pretty far south, and they wouldn't develop anything. They wouldn't develop anything closer to Blair until this reddish kind of pink color, which is phase 4. So it goes, green is 1, yellow is phase 2, and then blue, phase 3, and then the pink color 4. So that's the general concept plan. And then these slides are straight out of the design book, by the way. So on this one, they break out the townhome lots, and so they've highlighted them in yellow. So again, you can see that they're very close to Walden Road and extend all the way south to Rock Springs Elementary to that new alignment. And that's what they were proposing for those, or for that location for the townhouses. Of course, I already covered the villa lots, and then the single family in the center, and the 50-foot wide in the back. So that's kind of got all that. Here's one perspective of elevation they've offered, and this would be townhome elevation. So of what they typically offer. That's in the design booklet as well. So here's the ingress egress slide. So they've changed it a little since last June. Again, they had the 2 points of access back in June. They've got that down to 1. So now you've got 2 more along South Waldron that are spaced out. And then the third one would be directly across from school. And then also here in the back, so this is Buffalo Drive. That connects, I believe that subdivision is called Ivy Point. And that has not changed. That was also shown on the original plan back in June. So it's kind of hard to see it, but that is a connection on Buffalo Drive to the existing neighborhood to the east. And this slide shows the amenities, some of the amenities that they're proposing. Kind of see the general layout of the pool and clubhouse. And then this is the playground in the foreground here. And of course, we've already covered it, but they've included walking trails for a large amount of the development. And this slide shows the red and the blue. So this shows some of the right-of-way and how it's being designed or laid out to allow for Walden Road to have additional right-of-way. So that's this red color that runs the spine of Waldron. So that land in red would be dedicated from the developer and would become part of the right-of-way for Waldron. And then the blue, and again, this is that curve that they're trying to mitigate. So the blue is right-of-way that the Rutherford County School System apparently owns at this time, and they've offered to donate that or contribute it to this development to allow for the road to be straightened out somewhat. So that's what the purpose is of the blue and the red. I think, yeah, there's that kind of shows you close up what's going on. So red is what the developer's giving to the city or to the project of Walden Road. So that red goes all the way up to Blair, and then this blue part is to be abandoned by Rutherford County School System. So I believe, yeah, there is another slide here. So they've offered these again. I think the commercial is just more of a speculative topic at this point in the project. I don't know that there's anything solid, or if there is, I've not heard of it. But they did offer some typical elevations of some fairly small retail and drugstores and things of that nature that I think they've built in other places. So that is the end of the slides, and the only thing left in the report, several of the items from 2 weeks ago at the workshop were taken care of, and there's a few that I couldn't speak to just because one of them has to do with the development agreement, and that's number 3 in your technical items. So I've left that on there. I do not know the status of that, but I know some of you all do that have been in the meetings. And number 2, there's an area on the plan to be abandoned by the city, and again, these are the 2 blue notes are from engineering, so I'm doing a bang up job of the engineer's job, but I can say that his note, I didn't feel comfortable taking it off. And it just says that area must be approved by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen if it goes to that level. And for now, that area is only shown for illustrative purposes. So that's more of just a note that since the reports had to be printed, I haven't been able to speak to the engineer, so I didn't know what would become of those notes. The top one, number 1, is a planning comment, and that has to do with the HOA rules and the bylaws, also known as the CCRs or the restrictive covenant. So those would be submitted with the preliminary plat at the time of submittal if this concept plan advances and goes to the Board of Mayor and Alderman level. Then when they came back to planning, some of you all know, but if you don't, so on a large subdivision, you can have many years of plats that have to come back to the Planning Commission. So you start with the overall concept plan, which is where the Planning Commission is tonight, the concept plan and rezoning request, and then if it takes 5 years or 6 years or 7 years to develop out, you'll get plats for a long time. So the first phase 1, if it gets to preliminary plat stage, they would submit those HOA bylaws at that time. So, sorry I couldn't say that a lot more shorter, in a shorter form, but that's the end of the report. I think I've covered everything that I can think of, so I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Logan. Mayor Cole, if you would.
Mr. Chair, I've got questions for both the applicant and for Mr. Logan.
Please.
I can start with Mr. Logan first.
Let's get the applicant in here so he can hear,
Okay.
if we could. Mr. Brinkley, if you wouldn't mind, ask if there's a representative for this project. Thank you, sir. I'm sorry. Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, if you'd a representative to approach the podium, please. And Mayor Cole's going to start out with a question.
Mr. Logan, the first one's for you. I know we've got a large audience that's usually not part of planning commissions, usually pretty vacant outside of applicants. So can you explain first off the difference between number 6 and number 7 for concept, what a concept plan is, what that is versus an actual rezoning request?
Right. So in a project like this one tonight, it's a larger project, and it's also a mixed-use project. So most cities offer what's called a PUD or a PDR. And PUD is planned unit development, PDR is planned density development. They're very similar, and what they allow for is a mix of uses in a master plan community. Is kind of what we're going after. It's a master plan community, and it might have commercial, retail elements, and then it might have, of course, we'll have residential and all that. So any piece of property that needs to be rezoned, whether it's residential or commercial or industrial, would submit the same package and the same applications for the rezoning, and they would go through that process. But on a mixed-use development or a master plan community such as Arbor Ridge, there's the PDR process that one goes through, and so the concept plan has to accompany the rezoning request, and they are, the term I use is, it's like a marriage. They're married, and so they have to go together, and they have to travel together through the planning commission and then through the legislative body, whether that's city council or board of mayor and alderman, whatever. But they are married, and so in this case, the concept plan and the rezoning request, the rezoning request could not move forward if the concept plan was not approved, and vice versa in this case. Not to say there couldn't be a rezoning, but it wouldn't it'd be a totally different project with a different look, because the concept plan is what it's really what shapes, and it's what is steering the whole master plan community. So they're married and they travel together, and that's kind of how they work. If you have any questions about that, let me know, please.
So concept plan will be voted on or get favorable or unfavorable? Voted on, correct?
Voted on, yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and then my questions, I've gotten a plethora of phone calls and emails today. A lot of information, both accurate and inaccurate, so I want to clear up some of it in the public for the record. First off, does any of this project, is it low income or apartment complexes?
It is not. In fact, the materials that we're using, because of the PDR, requires us to use what is approved, which is all masonry product. That allows for a higher end, and most likely would not be low income at all.
And
Mr.
name and address if you would, sir.
Oh, yeah, Terry Rasmussen, 2000 Mallory Lane, Franklin, Tennessee, BRS Development.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Lee?
Were you done, Mr. Cole?
Yes.
I'd like to just tag on. Did you ask that question? In regards to the low end, I've gotten several calls and conversations on that too, and I want to clarify. When you look, just the materials alone, but let's just talk about the square footages of the units for a minute. We can break it all down. I know Bo did that. But the minimum square footage, let's just start with a townhome, is 1,400 square feet. That's minimum. Then, and they can go up to, forgive me, I've got it all right here, 2,100 square feet. Now, if any of this I say wrong,
Nope,
if you would let
you're
me know, develop them. On the villa homes, which is side by side, it's a minimum of 1,550 to 2,400 square feet. And then when you look at the, what I would call the 41 foot or the 50 foot single homes, which is 312 roundabout, my number's correct?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
You know, the minimum on those would be 1,600? Okay, so regardless of where we're at, on a townhome, you're talking minimum, I'm not a real estate agent, but I do know a little about the market. I'm gonna say 220,000, which is low. Okay, take 160 a square foot. So just to make sure the public is aware of the type of, if this was approved, the type of clientele that we would bring in, or the minimum square footage price, this is by no means a low-end project. And when you throw the materials in that they're presenting, just be aware, this is a prime, this would be a prime candidate for a school teacher or a nurse at the hospital, so on the low end. Okay, so regardless of where we look at, I just want to make sure that this is, the type of materials be going in the square footage is a pretty substantial cost.
Can I add something to that?
Yes, sir.
With the townhomes, there'll be a master association over the entire neighborhood. There'll be a sub-association over the townhomes and the villas, which the sub-association will take care of all exterior maintenance. The shingle blows off, piece of siding. It also takes care of all landscaping. So with that, the dues will be higher. It's going to be very, very difficult with materials and those things to really have this any kind of low income. The other thing I'll mention to the square footage, because you mentioned it, we did a study from I-24 West, just Laverne. Everything on the market today, that's active listings today, ranges from 900 square feet to 2,900 square feet. The average being 1,350. So the average in the area is already lower than our smallest unit as a townhome.
I just want to make clear the public, or people watching, know exactly what the types and the square footages we're talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Mayor Cole?
So going back to the income, you mentioned the Masonry Products, the properties, the subdivisions that are right near there, which is Ivy Point and Walnut Ridge, are they to that same level? Are they all Masonry Products?
To my knowledge, they're not. Now, you've got the Ridge that is brick, and you've got Pinnacle Point, which is, I believe, masonry product. But I don't believe those other two are. I don't think that's a requirement. Keep in mind with the PDR, it is a zoning ordinance. So whatever we say and whatever is voted on is what we're required to do. Straight zoned, which I think those are straight zones, there's no criteria, there's no enforcement from the city to mandate those materials. With a PDR, there is.
Okay, and then we've talked a little bit also, I think Mr. Lee had spoken on the villas. At one point, the villas were going to be age restrictive. Is that still the same, or is that different?
I don't think they were ever, I think that might be a mistake. They're age targeted,
Age targeted.
but we cannot restrict them. Now, if the builder wants to do that from a covenants and restriction standpoint, they can, but we will not zone them that way. But they are such a product that they're master downs. They're 3 bedrooms down. They're set up for an empty nester. Those also will have exterior maintenance and yard maintenance, and will drive up a higher price.
But who are y'all targeting?
I'm sorry, what?
Which age group are you targeting with that?
Empty nesters, retirees, people with grandchildren in the area. And furthermore on that, studies show, and we can provide them, that the trips they make is off-peak. They don't use the roads. They don't send kids to school. So when you start looking at that type of product with 150 of those units, I mean, that's a huge impact. It doesn't tax the city like other things do.
Okay. One question, one email I had specific, and I think this person may be here. I got a message about the commercial emptying out specifically into Walnut Ridge.
Okay.
And I know whenever I'd talked to you, at one point there was going to be right in, right out with the commercial that lines up with that. Is that still planned, or?
We can definitely accommodate that. I think that will be handled at a future date. But if the engineering department so chooses to require an in-out, right in, right out, we absolutely will accommodate that.
Okay, and then this one's more for Mr. Hunn, and I know we've talked some speculativeness on commercial. I know that's kind of your background. Can you kind of just go into your background with commercial and talk a little bit about that?
Yes. For the record, Daryl Hahn with Hahn Development. Our background in commercial is rather extensive. Our company has built more than 3 million square feet combined of commercial in forms of retail, office, and light industrial. In an area like this, the target is what we call neighborhood commercial. This is not highway commercial in any way. This is not made to appeal to traffic from outside the immediate area. This is meant to facilitate needs that currently residents in this area are commuting outside of this part of Laverne to fulfill. So if they're leaving this area right now for groceries, they don't have to anymore. If they're leaving this area right now for going to a barber shop or beauty salon, they don't have to anymore. These are the kind of uses that people will want near where they live, as opposed to having to cross an interstate to get to.
Okay, thank you. And this may be floating back over to Mr. Rasmussen. Can you go through what y'all have planned for road widening, what's being dedicated to the city, what y'all are widening, the time frame for that?
Sure.
And I think that's all based off of our 2019 traffic study.
That's correct. There was a traffic study that was initiated in 2019. Kimberly Horn did a study from Walden Road to Rock Springs. It was highest and best use for those properties that align that. They come back with a road section, a preliminary design, which is 5 lanes, which is a turn lane, 2 directionals. We are dedicating half of that right of way. So the property line currently is in the center of the road, even though it's a prescriptive right-of-way easement. It's still in the center of the road. So we're dedicating half of 120 feet? Dedicating 60 feet all along Waldron Road. We are only proposing to build 3 lanes because it's not needed right now. Even engineering department agrees with that. But we will grade it on our side of the road to a 5-lane section or half of a 5-lane section. We will build the 3 lanes with a turning lane. And keep in mind, that slide shows the right-of-way we're dedicating. The blue is owned by Rutherford County Schools. We've already spoken to them about a land swap. And that's what will happen. Everything on the red that is on the west side of the future Waldron Road will be dedicated back to them, and we've already agreed to do a land swap. We're also dedicating an additional 40 feet on Blair? Additional 40 feet on Blair. It will be a 3-lane section. That's what Kimberly Horn's plan calls for. We propose to widen it by 8 feet, restripe it, so there's shoulders. We also propose, and actually have it in our development agreement, we will complete the S-turn and the connection to Lake Road, and the city must accept it before we can get 1 certificate of occupancy. Meaning, we cannot move 1 person into the neighborhood until that is completed and accepted by the city. It's in the PDR, so it is part of the ordinance, cannot be changed unless voted again. It's also part of the development agreement. City signs it, developer signs it, cannot be circumvented. It's a legal document. So that will happen. There are other road improvements that happen throughout the project, depending on closings, or I'm sorry, certificate of occupancies, and when and if the commercial, when it comes, which it will, that intersection will have to be improved at that point in time.
Mr. Chairman?
Please, sir. Mr. Lee?
And on this point, since they can't occupy, obviously, like the gentleman just said, until this is done, this also helps with, because that's, the school's gonna have to be involved with that.
Correct.
'Cause that's right across. So I talked to the county myself a couple of times. Now, obviously, they can't approve or disapprove, but the good point is that they are open to working with the developer and us, obviously, to make whatever safer and whatever works. So this would make sure the cooperation with the county, the city, and the developer. He really couldn't sell or occupy anything until that is completed in the development agreement, and the city can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what's gonna bond them to make sure that happens. But that helps us with the county, the city, to make sure everybody cooperates, works together to make that happen, specifically for the safety of our children. Because that is county-owned and county-operated.
And to that point, if you look at the new alignment of Waldron Road compared to the old alignment, we can build 80% of it without shutting Waldron Road down. And the connections, we'll commit to making those connections outside of school time, so in the summer, which would make more sense anyhow. And again, that has to be completed before we get 1 certificate of occupancy.
But I do know they're willing to obviously do whatever it takes
Yep.
to be cordial to make sure everything happens.
And what's your time frame for the road improvements? Are you looking at, I've heard everything from 5 years to 9 years to 15 years.
It's spelled out in the development agreement. So, I mean, if we want to develop lots in what is our current road improvement phase 1, I mean, we have to start the road, because we can't have lots sitting there and not be able to move people in if the road's not complete. So it's very specific in the development agreement, very specific, as to when those road improvements have to be done.
Okay, and Bruce, if you don't mind me asking, because I know you were part of that traffic study, if the city forgoes this and does the entire widening project itself from 24 to Rock Springs, which does not include Blair, I believe, what was the price tag on that the city taxpayers pay?
The estimate that I heard for the widening of Waldron Road for that distance was around $18 million.
$18 million. Okay. One of the other big concerns I've heard from people in emails and phone calls was their property values, that this is going to hurt their property values. Can y'all speak to that as far as from y'all's side of it, and if y'all have done any research?
Yeah, we've done this several times. So mixed use communities tend to bring a higher value because there's more materials, the finishes are higher. The fact that we're building a 1.5 million plus amenity is also goes into the count that the values will definitely be higher. We've done a study, houses that were built 2019 and past brought right now, currently, closings last 12 months was $147 a square foot. Same area, built in 2020, are $163 a square foot. So if you just look at raw data, just the numbers, new home construction's bringing the entire area up. Not to mention a mixed-use development with diversity of product, absorptions are a lot faster. This won't linger on because we have 4 different product types. Commercial, entrance monumentation, walking trails, $1.5 million amenity. So the values will not go down. It's absolutely impossible.
So I have a question with that then.
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
Sorry. Where's that, no offense, but I just don't know you from Adam, so.
Sure.
Where is that, where is those numbers, where can I see that for myself, other than you just telling me that?
Well, like
If
I
I've
just-
got people to the south of that own 2-3 acres, or say they own 15 acres. And their property value is, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. Their property value is different than who is living over in Walnut Ridge. So I don't see how that can correlate together.
Well,
I personally can't.
And I understand that. So first of all, you're talking about an apple and an orange. We're talking
is
about
correct.
smaller lots. We're basing everything on price per square foot. Because that's what you have to do. I mean, you can't say the townhomes are gonna bring less than a single family, but the square footage price is probably more for a townhome. You have acreage included. I mean, I don't know what 10 acres down there is valued at, but it's a whole lot more than a single lot. So the only way I can correlate that, because they're not the same, is your property values, price per square foot on your house is gonna go up. It will. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Your land will go up, because demand out there will be higher.
Okay, again,
And
where can I see that information instead of you just telling me?
If I can, Matt Taylor from SEC. I lived on Lee Road, which is a stone's throw away from this location, on the south side, for about 1.5 years. The properties on the south side are all acreage tracts with probably 2,000 to 3,000 square foot homes. Directly across the street are small lots. D.R. Horton has built, I think, about 600 homes in there, if I'm not mistaken, plus several other developments. You can go back and you can click on those assessed values since they started that. Those property values have done nothing but gone up. And so that is, it's very clear data. I mean, we were there for 1.5 years, and I think our value, I think we sold it for about $50,000 more than we bought it. And that's not why we sold. We needed an extra bedroom. And so it's very clear. It's very, very similar situation. So you can click on that. It's all on the assessor's website, all through the
So
GIS.
the assessor's website's where I should go to
You
find
can,
that information?
yeah, you can find that very easily, yes, sir. All public information.
And just
If I could add to that, we did speak to Rutherford County Assessor's office, and he absolutely confirmed what Matt just said. Values tend to go up where there's new construction. And it's raw data. There's no falsity to it.
I actually went a step further. I've been friends with Rob Mitchell, our property assessor, for a couple of years now, just from mutual circles. I sent him over some information about this, asked him his professional opinion based on the surrounding area, what this would do, and he said that he doesn't believe this is going to hurt property values, and that's his exact words. And he's been the property assessor, I believe, for 8 years. Maybe more. I was looking at Bruce for that. So that's one thing I've had a lot of people mention to me. The other thing that was mentioned is schools, and that all of our schools are already over capacity. Would schools, would this side of Laverne, which was zoned for Stewart's Creek High School, be rezoned back to Laverne High School? I've reached out to Tammy Sharp, who is our school board representative, and just asked some questions about that. Rock Springs Elementary and Rock Springs Middle, neither one of those are at capacity for children, for their ratio that they have to stay into for the state. Laverne High School is. There would not be a rezoning back. What was mentioned to me is that their plan is to rezone the southern portion of Stewart's Creek High School into Blackman if there becomes an overcrowding issue. But that currently is not even something they're doing. They're still trying to build and look for more land for schools. And I'm sure Mr. Holliday can sympathize with that, where he was on the school board for many years, and he's seen a lot of that.
Yeah, I would say that would be the plan there, and specifically, they've been in search of the property around Almaville Road and 840 for some time to actually erect a new high school that would, a new 3-campus school, and that would be where this population would go, is a cascade effect, they refer to it as, where you rezone, but that school that's closest to this would stay the school.
Now, with the differences of property, or not property, it's all one giant property, but different types of homes you've got
Right.
here.
Yes, sir.
And this is another tying in with the school that I've got, was people were saying, well, this is all going to overcrowd Rock Springs Elementary. This is going to, and it's depending on where their household was with somebody in school, it was that particular school. Is all of this geared towards one specific type of family that has, whether it's elementary school children, middle school children, high school children? Is it geared towards that, or how is it? Which one would it flow into the most?
Great question. First of all, active adult, or I'm sorry, age targeted typically will have no children. And even though it's not restricted, the floor plans are not family friendly. So in talking to Rutherford County Schools, they like the idea of a diverse product type, because townhomes typically won't have children, but they'd be younger, and they'll go to an elementary school. The different product types in the single family, they will distribute to more of a middle and high school. So even though there's 650 homes out there, 150 of them will not send schools, part of the townhomes will not, and the rest will diversify throughout the entire elementary, middle, and high school. And you're exactly right about, we call it the according effect. So they've got Rockvale, they're trying to find something between Rockvale and Blackman. All those kids will push south. You're on the north end of Rutherford County. There's nowhere to go north. So what you're zoned for here will remain zoned for here.
Question, Ms. Sanders?
Yeah, I had a question going back to the price per square footage from 2019 to 2020. Your figures, did they take into account the skyrocketing costs of building supplies in 2020, given the pandemic?
So what we did was we took it over a full year. So even though there was a peak, and we're very aware of what happened in the late spring, early summer, we took the entire year. So closings that happened from January 1st to January 1st, any house built prior to 2019, that's what we took closed. It had to be closed. Compared to what was built in 2020, which also was closed. So even though the prices went up, you have that across the board without lumber prices. Things continue to go up. And they raised the price, I mean, if you think about it, they raised the price of resales. Because where are they gonna go? They can't find new homes because they're not out there. But if they can, those prices are elevating. So the resales elevate right with it.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions or comments from the board?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Please, Mr. Alderman Coates.
What is your estimated cost for the road widening from Blair Road to the edge of your property?
All road improvements are around 3.5 million.
What about widening of the road from the edge of your property to Rock Springs?
We don't own that property. So, I mean, it would be very difficult for us to do. The right-of-way would have to be acquired. It's not something we can afford to do. Timing of it, it would be very difficult for us to do that.
So therefore, it would appear to me then, we have a long strip of road from 24 to Rock Springs, and we're only going to widen the middle.
Correct.
And then the residents would still have an issue getting from the edge of your property to Rock Springs and/or Blair Road to 24.
That is correct. What I would say to that is, if the city, and Adam has verified this, if the city was to do the road improvements we're doing, it'd be double. So you have $3.5 million worth of savings based on what we're doing. You could take that and easily do one end. You could easily do Blair. Blair to 24 is a different animal. I think everybody understands that. With that said, though, keep in mind, we're widening 1/3 of Walden Road. From the bridge all the way to 24, we're widening 1/3 of Walden Road. I don't know where else you're going to start.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I know this is Smyrna, but I think this is accurate. We're, the section where they would possibly improve to Rock Springs. The Gwynn property, which obviously has been sold, and the city of Smyrna, I'm pretty sure they already have agreed, and that's in writing, that they're going to clean up Rock Springs and Waldron, and that's the bridge, and get up. So that would be the responsibility that's being taken care of. Is that correct? Do I have the information correct?
The Gwynn Farms project is taking care of expanding the bridge and part of Waldron, but it will not come all the way to Rock Springs Elementary. It will come right around or just past Martin's Wood.
Okay.
Right there, that entrance.
Because that was always iffy at the time before that went through, so it would be feasible for Laverne. That would be the easiest part to do if all this happened, from this development to Rock Springs. That would be very feasibly, could be done. Just
By the city or the
thought.
developer, sir?
City,
Thank you.
I'm sorry if I said that. Those two would be cleaned up.
And furthermore, where Portico is widening Blair and taking the hard turns out, and where we stop the widening is very little as well. So it would be very easy to at least get the shoulders put on Blair Road from that section. I think it's 1,200 or 1,300 feet.
Mr. Chairman,
Please, Mr. Holliday.
you mentioned that Smyrna is widening the bridge at Waldron Road?
The bridge at Rocky Springs in Waldron.
Rock Springs.
Rock Springs.
Right there by the Church of Christ there, right in that area.
But is it Rock Springs Road or is it Waldron Road?
They're widening Waldron Road and Rock Springs Road, so that comes to a T.
Uh-huh.
And they're doing, on our side, there's the bridge, on Waldron Road side, there's the bridge, and then there's a little bit of roadage up to Martin's Wood. And then they're widening Rock Springs Road on their side, and then once it gets built out and traffic count starts going, they've got proposed to put a signal light there as well.
In my
So they're widening Waldron Road in anticipation of what they're building?
Yes,
So they expect for that traffic to travel Waldron Road?
yes.
Okay, well then, widening Waldron Road is something that we're gonna have to do whether this happens or not.
Exactly, and that's, I mean, I'm not saying how it should be done yet, I'm just saying, I want to bring that for thought for us to consider, and the public too, to understand what's happening, since it's city limits.
Right.
That's being done, and then if this developed and this happened, at least, I do know that would be more easily financially responsible, easier for the city to get that part done. Not saying they would do that, that's Board of Aldermen, but
Well, and the land could be developed, per zone right now, and the city get no assistance in widening Waldron Road.
Correct, and so the entire city taxpayers would pay for all of it. That's the $18.5 million that Mr. Richardson mentioned. If the city does it, nobody else does it, it's just on the taxpayers, that's the price tag.
Right, okay.
We
Can
can't
I-
do that in the current zoning. It's got to be this planned.
Can I mention something to that?
Please, sir.
Yes, you're exactly right. If for some reason this doesn't work and we can't get this through, our plan is to come back with 500 lots and do a straight zone, because we're able to. And then the roads don't get done. And, I mean, we would absolutely do that in lieu of $3.5 million road improvements. It's not the best for the city, it's not the best for us. Diversity of product, commercial, absorptions with the mixed-use development, all play into that. But that would be our backup plan, yes.
Right, 500 lots.
Correct.
Yeah.
A commercial grocer makes sense for the west side of town. Currently, I would say 99% of our residents over there shop in Nolensville or Smyrna. And that's great for Smyrna and Nolensville because the sales tax dollars at that point, that funds their police, their fire, their road improvements. But that doesn't benefit the city of Laverne in any way. We're still tasked, I know even before I got on the board as an alderman, people were asking to straighten Blair Road, to widen Waldron Road, and I've heard it, people ask that it be widened to 5 lanes, to 3 lanes, add shoulders, sidewalks, add more police. I know we just had a couple weeks ago a string of where people have left their car doors unlocked, and so people ransacked and sorted through them. I've had some people from Pinnacle Point say, hey, we need more police officers. Again, all that costs money, and I would say the majority of this side of town does its shopping, and I live over there, so I'm talking about our side of town, does its shopping in Smyrna and Nolensville. And this would provide at least the commercial portions of it. A commercial grocer would provide a closer at-home way to get that, as well as something that benefits the city to be able to provide extra fire services. I mean, John, I know you've used to be with Laverne Fire, and every year we have those requests for different things pop up, and sales tax is predominantly how we fund it. It's not property tax.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions?
Chairman, I'd like to continue my list, if you would, please.
Please.
So if I may add one thing regarding the grocery. I've spoken to 11 different grocery chains who are all looking in this area, and there is not enough demographics for there to be too much grocery in this area, even with new rooftops coming in. And they're not just looking at this part of Laverne, they're looking north of here in Davidson County, they're looking in a rather large circle in this area. This project with the timing is poised to put grocery in this part of Laverne. If this project doesn't happen at this particular time with this timing though, that grocery will most likely happen somewhere else. Just food for thought.
Thank you, Mr. Hahn. Alderman Coates?
So going back to the comment about the widening Walden Road to E.T. Martin's Bend, is the Smyrna developer, are they buying the right-of-way?
That I don't know. Bruce, do you know that one from?
From what I recall, the developer of that obtained the right-of-way from the existing property owners already in order to make those improvements, especially for the bridge and that little portion before the bridge. So I think they've already acquired that from the existing property owners.
There's quite a large electrical easement through that, on that corner, with some electrical equipment that has to be moved. Anyway. Moving on to the developer. Let's talk more about the Lake Road to Walden Road connection. What's your plans there, and how much you're going to spend on it?
Well, when we first talked to Adam about it, the city was going to acquire the right-of-way and pay the cost to straighten Lake Road. And Kimley Horn has a design for that. So, I mean, we're taking care of the S-turn. We said while we're there, while we're grading, while we're doing the work, more than happy to add that to the scope, but the city would have to reimburse us for that.
Do you have an idea of what that cost is?
I don't. I believe Adam may, but
It's really not much. I mean, the right-of-way would cost you more than, we have to grade that section anyhow. There's a large hill that has to come down. That's the majority of the cost,
So with Adam being out on medical,
which we have agreed to do that.
So basically, the city's paying for that cost, you're just agreeing for us to tee into that junction where you're straightening the road out.
Correct. I mean, again, we don't have the right-of-way, so.
I understand, it's just, there's a lot of zeros adding up here pretty quick on the city side. I mean, I understand you're a developer, but on the city side and the taxpayer side, there's a lot of zeros starting to add up here pretty quick, so that's why I'm asking the questions. As far as the development, my concern is that the amount of, the density is, especially adjacent to the school, is on the high end. And although you're targeting people, say, as you were saying, without children, the school would draw people, I think, with children. So my concern there is your density area opposite the school is, in my opinion, too dense.
Okay.
Going on to the other issue of Blair Road and Blair Road West, as it's been called, who's paying for the cost of that road to the end of the commercial property?
Oh, that's me.
So is there any cost being given to the city to put that road in?
You mean to take from Blair Road intersection to the
Edge of your
edge of my property?
Yes.
No,
So there's no cost to the city?
no.
Okay.
But we don't need to buy a right-of-way from anyone. It's on my property, so.
Yeah, but my concern is getting the road built, a drivable
Nope.
road.
Nope.
So you-
I want that road there.
Okay, all right. And the potential of a busy intersection, what's our thinking here for a signalization, roundabout, or getting people through that junction?
I'm not in favor of a roundabout. I am in favor of a signal.
Okay. But the turn lanes, I mean, how are you going to handle it on your property?
I can answer that.
Okay.
Yeah, Kimley Horn's study shows decel lanes, left turn lanes. There's a whole 5-lane section that happens at Waldron and Blair Road. You've got a left turn lane, you've got a through lane, you've got decel lane, you have a southbound directional lane. On Blair Road, that 3-lane section goes to a 4-lane section. You've got a right, a straight, a left, and a eastbound lane. And that's part of Kimley Horn's plan and design.
So that would incur traffic lights, and you'll stand the cost
That
for
would be
that?
part of our road improvements.
The deceleration lane on the existing Blair Road, how far would that come back? All the way to your planned junction out of your commercial area?
There's a calculation that you use for TDOT. I don't know if we know that yet, but it's in the study.
It is not all the way back, not back to our entrance.
No.
If it's, correct me if I'm wrong, if it's not on the concept plan, it's not required. So if we approve the concept plan,
Correct.
you gotta have all details. That's a big thing in planning. We need all details. So if we don't know how far the deceleration lane is and it's not on the map, then we don't have anything to go by. You could make it 30 foot. So,
I mean, I think that ends up getting spelled out in the development agreement is where it ends up getting spelled out.
okay, Bo,
I would defer to the city attorney on that one.
city attorney?
That's a legal question.
Or
So
Bruce?
we have, can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
So we have a development agreement proposal from the developer, and I can't speak to it yet. We're still reviewing the details of it.
But as of right now, it's not in our packet, is it, gentlemen?
Let me speak on that issue. My name's Todd Panther from Glen Abbey, Nashville, Tennessee. I represent the developer and drafted the development agreement. The way that's...
Can you speak a little more into the microphone?
Yes, happy to.
Thank you.
The way that the development agreement currently reads is it has a series of exhibits that would be attached that would graphically depict which road improvements would be done in which phases. And so these elements that you're asking about configuration and so forth, would be attached to the development agreement once they are approved by the city attorney. And of course, you.
And the development agreement is something that's approved with, through BOMA. So we wouldn't have that here with our packet.
Okay. Questions or comments? Anyone else?
I have a quick question. When you had stated earlier that if this concept didn't pass, that you would just move forward with the R1, does that mean you would scrap the commercial as well?
Road
Just do the
improvements and
R1?
commercial, yeah. I mean, it's very difficult to give up 20 acres of land for commercial when it's not today. And it'll come, and $3.5 million of road improvements. I mean, it doesn't work.
And you kind of insinuated you wouldn't do a R1 using masonry and stuff, that you'd build it as cheap as you could?
No, I didn't say that. What I
Well,
said.
you didn't say it.
Well,
You
what I said
insinuated
was
it.
you're not required to with
Right.
straight zone. Not our preference. If it was our preference, that's what we would do. Our preference is to have diversity of product, quality of product, road improvements, walkability to commercial, walking trails, $1.5 million amenity. That's really our preference.
But you wouldn't do that in R1?
You wouldn't be able to afford to.
Okay.
And then to that point, diversity of product does a whole different, something different with the schools.
Any further questions or comments?
I would say the alternative, at least the 500, while it's R1 homes, it doesn't bring anything to the city. It doesn't bring any benefit to it, just in my personal opinion, because there are no road improvements. There's no commercial to generate, whether it's road improvements, police, fire. It literally is just funding Smyrna, essentially, because, again, that's where they're going to go shop, is Smyrna. It's just going to be basically, just homes. We're still going to have the same traffic. We're still going to have the same road at that point, and it's just more people on it, so more congestion.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Lee?
Yeah. It's a balancing act, and it's not, as far as, we can't, I'm just speaking for me personally, we can't change what was done before us. We've got to, me personally, I try to make the best decision for the city and the citizens for the future on where we're at. And that includes infrastructure, schools, the existing residents that live there. And it's difficult sometimes, but the mayor is exactly right as far as they would just go to Smyrna. So, we as a board, what do we want? And, the fire and police is important to me with specifically the ambulance service. So it's difficult, but it's a balancing act on where we're at today. And some things are unfortunate, but I do want to say this, from an infrastructure standpoint, Laverne cannot sit regardless moving forward. And I want to compliment the mayor and the existing board of aldermen and what they're trying to do with the resources we have. So it's a balancing act, it's difficult. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Mayor Cole?
One other thing I forgot to mention, commercial already exists, at least zoning, on the west side of town. The Ridge, their front two parcels are commercial. And currently, there's no overlay, there's no, like with this has specific guidelines that they're going to be doing masonry products. If a lot is big enough, Dollar General could show up with, the steel sides, and there's not a whole lot that we can do when it comes to that. As long as they meet the code, it's already zoned that way, and that would be on Lake Road. This, at least with the restrictions that's in there, it's going to be a brick or a stone product versus just, what usually we see with that. I know we got fortunate with some arm twisting from Alderman Coates on the other one that just recently went in out in Lake Forest, and I think that's a mile or two from their existing one.
Thank you, sir.
I do have another comment.
Rutledge, please.
I guess it's more of a question. I don't understand the yield of profit, I guess, is what you guys are for, right? I mean, it's money, and I get that, and I'm for that. And the commercial, I'm not opposed to the commercial, like I said in the other one. But it's hard for me to believe that you can't build 500 quality size homes, large size homes, if you won't even say that, on 500 lots and not yield more profit and be able to make the changes to the roads and do all of that infrastructure stuff with your commercial plan and not do it with 646 lots or 54 lots, I'm sorry. So, that's where I can't wrap my head around that, I don't guess. And I'm not getting it cleared to me why we can't stay single-family dwellings, large homes. You could put the commercial lots there. I agree with that. I think we need that for infrastructure. If a mayor tells me that gives us an opportunity to have more firemen, police, and quality people on a department that's already understaffed, I'm all for it. But I just don't understand why it has to be multifamily dwellings, because essentially that's what they are. From a firefighter standpoint, they are multifamily dwellings. They're connected. So one goes into another one in the roof line, they're all connected to me.
I understand.
So I just don't know why we can't do it in large homes on 500 lots. I mean, there's enough land out there, you could build 5,000 square foot houses out there. And they're gonna come. People are gonna buy them.
Don't we have a responsibility, though, as a planning commission, to provide to our community a variety of product and make it affordable for all levels of society and income to be able to have a home? And the diversity of product is one of the things that this PDR allows. That allows for the 26-year-old single school teacher to have a home of their own next to the school where they teach our children. And that dignity is something that I, as a planning commissioner, would be in favor of.
But didn't you say those townhomes would probably cost more than the regular home?
Per square foot, they probably will, yeah. But what
And then with the HOA fees
what Mr.
being
Holliday
higher?
is saying, that a townhome probably would be in the 250 to 270 range, where a single family would be in 350 to 370 range. But the price per square foot probably would be higher because you get more for it. You get maintenance, things like that. And Mr. Rutledge, to answer your question, you could, but you'd be building for 15 years. And that's really the issue. With the difference of product, the absorptions go way up. It's not even close, because you don't have 500 people that want $550,000 homes. The Ridge has it, Pinnacle Point has it. You're just competing against each other. And I know you think there is abundance of those people. There's not. So the diversity in product make this a 6 to 7 year plan as opposed to a 15-year plan.
I was just told the other day in this room that the majority of people that live in Laverne work outside of here that
True.
have a higher gross income than the surrounding people around our city. And then to go off of what you said, our community is full. Lake Forest is one of the biggest subdivisions in the country that have the single-family dwelling homes that are affordable for all ages. So, I just don't get it.
I understand your point. I understand your point. I'm just trying to tell you that from a business standpoint.
I understand.
And do you want a project going on for 15 years in that area?
It doesn't matter.
I would think
doesn't.
not.
Thank you, everyone. Any other questions or comments?
Just one quick comment. On the diversity of product that Mr. Holliday was talking about, I think to add to that is you're talking high-end diversity of product.
Sure.
This, and you can't get that any other way. So just don't want to get back to comparing other subdivisions in Laverne to this, because they're totally, you're talking about two different animals.
Now,
If we had diversity of product in other
Yes.
subdivisions, I think that those subdivisions would benefit from that diversity of product. So,
And the only way to get the diversity of product with this high end of a product is through the plan development. Because we control everything, basically. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And I think one other thing that has come up, at least in the emails, is that this would be another Lake Forest. And Lake Forest is a massive, massive neighborhood. John, you've been over at Station 3 before. That is a massive one, and I would say it's night and day comparing the two for size, because it is that massive. And if you look at the land that's available, that's already tied up and being developed, there's not the ability to recreate that, nor at the same time, even the zoning. I don't see anyone here, at least on this planning commission, approving zero lot line homes. That just, I don't see that. I know that that's a goal to get it even out of our zoning ordinance, so that can't happen in the future. But I mean, I would think everyone would agree with that scope's not even there.
Very true. Any other questions or comments?
So just to comment on that, I'm not referring that this is a Lake Forest community. That's not what I'm referring to, right? As you presented it, it looks very nice. I'm not downing the concept at all. I am saying that the diversity of somebody wants to buy a home in our community. I've lived in Laverne my whole life. This whole community is mine, whether it's Lake Forest or out by Pools Knob or Walden Road. It's my community. I've lived here my whole life. They all should be an option for anybody in this state or country that would want to live there, right? Not just because it's Lake Forest and a large community and it's not as good a homes as this. So I'm saying we could do better as a planning commission, and I'm hoping that's why I'm here to help with that maybe. I just don't see the multifamily dwelling being an option here for me. So that's it. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rutledge. With that, if there's no other questions or comments, we'll entertain a motion.
Move for acceptance as submitted.
We have a motion to accept this as submitted. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Lee. I'm going to do a voice vote. So, Mr. Lee?
Aye.
No.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
No.
So, it's split to myself. The developer has been very kind and doing a lot of work and offering a lot to the city. And I think I would be not very forthcoming if I didn't have the same opinion that I had when we spoke at my office. I have to agree that the R3, well, what would be potentially considered R3 or multifamily, is not a great fit for the neighborhood. However, the diversity, the growth, the infrastructure, I have to vote aye. So, motion passes.
I'd like to thank the Planning Commission and staff. They've been very helpful. Thank you.
With that, we'll go on to the next item. Item number 7, recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen rezoning of property requested by SEC Inc., 226.35 acres, property located at Blair Road and South Walden Road, tax map 32, parcel 4, tax map 29, parcel 40 and 41, current zoning R1 low-density residential zoning district, proposed zoning district PDR, planned density residential zoning district, property owned by James N. McFarland Jr. et al., and Holmes Family Trust. Mr. Logan.
Thank you. So remember what we were saying in the case of PDR, this is the document that controls the project. So the presentation for this would be the same as we just had. So I'll just hit the high points. The property, same property, 214 acres, South Walden Road and Blair. It's all zoned R1 currently, including the commercial tracts on the west side of South Walden. So everything is R1 zoning, and they're asking for a mixed-use residential development of PDR, and of course, it's the same photos, and so I don't think I need to go through that. But basically, they're just asking for the rezoning to PDR to allow everything that you've seen in the last 30 or 45 minutes in this book and that the discussion that we've had. And I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments from the board?
Move to accept as submitted.
We will be giving a favorable or unfavorable recommendation, sir.
Thank you for the clarification. Move to give a favorable recommendation.
To the board, I have a motion for a favorable recommendation by Mr. Holliday. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Lee. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No.
All opposed?
No.
No.
Let's do a voice vote again.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
No.
And I will have to vote aye. And the reason being, and for everybody's knowledge, is the city needs the growth. And I think they'll build us a fine product, and it'll be a great addition to our city in the long run. With that, the last thing on the agenda is bonds and letter of credit update. And that is Mr. Leach's department. So that's on you, Mr. Logan.
I don't have anything. Nothing was submitted to me, so I would just skip it this month.
Thank you. With that, meeting adjourned.